This is your daily market review for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, your daily market review for Monday, January 27th, 2025. Want to start off giving credit where credit is due. Those who are following our channel talked about how NVIDIA was the short of 2025. There was a reason. We talked about competitiveness in the AI space, the chip space. Again, over time, as chips become more powerful, everyone makes powerful chips. And at some point, it's in everyone's best interest to do what? Get more out of those chips with less power. Pricing power comes down. Again, long story short, there was always going to be a situation where this was possible. It's just a matter of when and at what time. And so unfortunately, as we talked about how the formations were playing out, and again, 3 Mile Island, shout out to Eric for that island, like that idea. And now where we're at, okay, let's talk about it. We have the FOMC meeting coming up. We've got some data coming up this week. It's just going to be one of those weeks where I think at the start, you probably get the chop, then we'll get some sideways action. And then at the same point, I don't know near term. Again, it's just playing levels, and that's what's so hard for folks because they're looking for certainty. Again, I could see the market continuing melting down because the VIX is only at what, 18? But also could see it kind of VIX melting down near term because people are getting hopeful that, you know what, the Feds are going to say something special to save the market. So let's dig into it. Let's dig into levels. Let's dig into the action. Let's dig in what to anticipate. And again, I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations. You guys are amazing. If you want to hang out, want to chat, join the Discord room, want to also take a time to chat, hit up the calendar links. So let's get some time. Let's get to know each other. Let's figure it out. So, because again, I think there's a lot of people who are looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate with the profits that they're making. Is it time to update a house? Is it time to buy an investment property? Are you trying to find something that cash flows? We're like, oh, rates are too high. And it's like, as we talked about, look at some of the new builds. You usually get blanket warranties for 1-2 years and then structural for 8 to 10. Not a bad deal. And sometimes you get the HVAC and certain other systems in the house, you might get 3 and 4 year warranties. So anyway, at this point, let's dig into it. New to the channel, check out Twitter, posting ideas, thoughts, trades, ideas, all sorts of fun stuff. So again, very helpful for those who are not in the Discord room or do not have Discord. Also like, subscribe, and notification bell if you would like to hit the thanks button to donate to the channel. I appreciate it, but also just make sure you follow the notification so you get when these things are dropped. Also, check out the website, tradingagent.com. Tons of great resources here for that ass. Interesting. I did not hear. You know, when something I see, something I go, I'm kind of a ADD kind of guy. ADD. But I'll figure that out later. So let me know how I can help. Again, I think there's a lot of folks who overtrade, overthinking this. Again, feel like they have to do something all the time or are always trying to nail home runs. And that's what the market's real good about. Does that make sense? Real good about that. It's going to do its best to absolutely destroy people and get them to feel like, all right, the market can only go up and this can only happen and this. It's like, ten cuidado. Okay. So what do we know going into this week? You know, the Fed cut is 0. Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure that candle is not fully, again, I apologize. Bitcoin, it's just always this silly. Maybe it is. Okay, it was a wick. It did bounce back. Okay, cool. Interesting, we back tested this trend line. Again, as we've said over and over. Choppy action until we break out or we break down. Oil, we called this one, right? We said, pull back a come be a come in. And people are like, no, I don't know, man. It's time to go. And it's like, no, the Feds don't want oil to rip. Doesn't mean it can't rip, but just they don't want it to rip. Does this make sense? Right? Like there's a whole host of things that, you know, you could argue why, how, if, and then, but you know what I mean? But I think a lot of folks have to look at it for what it is, right? So we know now near term oil pulling back, has pulled back. Now we're in between, right? So do yourself a favor. Don't go crazy, okay? Natty gas holding up pretty well. Again, I like commodities a lot, but I like them in time on pullbacks into weakness. Make sense? Oh, hey, NVIDIA. No, I was watching that one pretty close today. Talked about the short of the century. I mean, again, I hate to say it, but it, man, it looks just like Cisco. Feels like it. 2020 or 2000 and 2001. Dollar action. Somebody knew something. But here, at this point, it's just funny. right? Keep an eye on it. Like, again, I don't necessarily give a crap about the dollar so much as I watch the dollar volatility, because we do know that the rest of the world's currencies are crap. TLT said this morning, like, watch what happens. You got to clear these 88s. Okay. And what did we say? It could be a head and shoulders bottom. Could be some sort of retest. Could be some games down here. Again, I like bonds for a trade, right? For a trade at worst, for the risk reward, right? It's a slower one. You can buy cheap options. You can, leverage it pretty easily. But again, it's where you got to define your risk, because I think it makes sense. VIX closed at 18. Look at that candle, right? I mean, this has just been the last couple of weeks and months. It's an interesting game. It's like, man, we talked about this 3-day range down here. We talked about the VIVX was holding up pretty well. Speaking of VIVX, right? Like, just holding up really dang well. Sorry, a little sniffle. In general, right? Like making higher highs, higher lows. Again, keep an eye on it. Again, is this a one-day event? Probably not. I mean, they changed the game. I mean, the game finally got exposed, if that makes sense. SPY, gaps down, holds in the 50-day. I don't know. You see this area. This is not surprising. We get some bounce back. People are like, oh, it's bullish. And it's like, is it a pro gap? Because again, if the candle was the color of the direction, they'd be like, oh, that's red. Yeah, I know we closed near the high in the day, 8 and 10 day, but that's not surprising, right? You going into the Fed meeting, you provided liquidity for shorts to cover, and you got people to buy. Now, this is the thing. If I was really, this is my interpretation of the market again. As someone who said, 3 Mile Island top, I felt really similar to this kind of weird action. We talked about a big red would follow. So again, if the candle was red, it would look the same. Now you have lower highs. Now you're at support, which is, makes sense. If I wanted a really good bounce, I would like to see, if I was going into the Feds, I think you would like to see it get slammed more. Doesn't necessarily mean it can't bounce, but remember, think about it. If you get more oversold going into a Fed meeting, I think you would get the Fed speaking a little more what? Dovish, right? Makes sense. Talking a little more like pump the market. Right now we're at support. Keep an eye on it. Just trade around your positions, manage them, right? IWM, look at today, 50-day, 100-day. Man, IWM has been so technical lately. 200-day bounce, 50-day. I mean, it's funny. So now what? 50-day above, could get higher, could get back up in the 230s, below the 100-day, could come back and start filling some of these gaps. 200-day, keep an eye on it. DIA holding up with all what's going on with some of the earnings names. Yeah, keep an eye on it, right? Again, I personally don't want to sit here and overthink this. I'm trying to think about like who's got earnings today, right? Sometimes we always talk about it's like anyone right after the close, big time. Sorry, I hate to get distracted and throw you guys off, but no. And this is what I like to look at for myself for briefing.com. I don't think there was anything big after the close other than Nucor. That's what I thought. Okay, sorry. Back to your regular scheduled television. DIA holding up pretty do well, right? Gold. This is what I hate. The baby with the bathwater. Baby out with the bathwater. Again, we like gold long term. I've said this on record. I'm like a broken record. Like every video. If you come back from a year from now, you're probably gonna be higher. Near term, they might throw the baby out with the bathwater. I like silver. I like miners. I like metals. I like all this stuff. But near term, it could get washed out with the market. Hence why these have been lagging. I don't trust them. Again, I'm not saying gold and silver and miners are trash, but they could get trashed. Does this make sense? A lot of people take it personal. I'm like, I just don't trust them. I've been caught in their cycle before. They wiped me into the ground. JNUG, one of the biggest slap-arounds I've ever made or gotten smacked with many years ago. Again, gold was ripping, the market dumped, and miners got crushed. And I was like sitting there going, oh, gold's holding up. Miners got slapped. Don't do it. AEM, this one's holding up pretty damn well. Got to give credit where credit's due. However, back at highs. AG, are you with me? We talked about this one. I mean, not really acting so well. But again, volume is decreasing near the lows. Just worth a watch. Because again, I personally think, again, at some point, they wipe out, you surf them, right? Then you can surf them. New wave is coming, in my opinion. Again, Newmont, interesting. Should be in the 60s. It's not. PAAS, this thing's gotten just sideways chopped. Keep it simple. Taiwan Semi. Breathe, Dan. This is where I'm going to get like super excited. We talked about these names, like playing games. This is what's so hard is you get these big moves, right? You never know where it's going to end, right? You go from 60 up to whatever, 230. I mean, again, you like all of these names. When they start kind of playing the game at the highs, you don't know. And that's where for months it's been like bulls, bears, bulls, bears, bulls, bears, fake bulls, boom. Now you're at the 100-day. I mean, again, I said on record, I think tech, semis especially, are the short of the year. NVDA is the king of the shorting. It's going to be, in my opinion. Micron, again, look at these names. It's been lagging. And this one hits the 200-day, gives it up. mean, if you break those mid 80s, it could get funky, funkadelic. AMD talked about how this thing has just been acting like shit. Again, in a higher stronger market, why is this acting weak? Keep an eye on it. NVIDIA, again, speaking of the devil. So we talked about DeepSeek coming for them. I mean, in general, they could not sustain their pricing power, y'all. Just was never going to be possible. And then you have the 3 Mile Island gap up trap. Look at the close on Friday. Someone knew something, and then kapow, and said, wow, going to 200-day. Next trend line is at the 115 area. Keep an eye on that. Now, again, near term, are we oversold? Yeah, but people go, where can it go? I mean, if it went much higher than I thought it was even possible, it also can do this opposite. Like, the market's not rational. So what is rational? What is rational to you, me? Probably everyone's like, oh, man, if this gets crushed, maybe like 70s to like 50. I don't know why you wouldn't come back to 30s. Really flush everybody out. Seen this happen before. I mean, go look at, I mean, I hate to like pull up AMD again, but this has happened to AMD many times. Oh, everything's great. 160, boom, gets cut down to 50. Go look at the old action. I know this is like pre-split stuff or post-split, but look at this. I mean, you went from 47, boom, down to $4. Nobody expected it coming. I'm telling you, chips can become a commodity. SMCI, oh man, I hope the people who didn't buy the wedge breakout held. Again, of course they did. They couldn't do anything about it. It was looking so promising potentially, right? Break the wedge, give it back up. Again, I don't trust this. Again, they've got issues. Intellectual property, I mean, again, if they get bought out, it's going to be not at a premium. Watching these levels, 18 to 20. AVGO, look at this, right? It's like, oh, here we go again. Doji, big gap down, in my opinion. These are game over gaps. Now, it doesn't mean you can't gap down and then chop for a day, a week, shit, even a month. But I don't trust them. SMH, you're welcome if you bought. We talked about if you bought stocks, you're probably at some point going to get rewarded, especially if you got it towards the high end of range for the SMH. Boom, 200-day broke, channel break, everything break with huge volume. Slap, 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 bam, bam, bam. Okay, near term, again, don't be surprised if it wants to play the game to bounce. If it doesn't bounce, it tells you how weak it really is, right? How much money is trapped. And it's kind of, again, I hate to be a dork or rub it in, but buy the dip with what money? I agree. Like, people who are all in semis are all in semis. We talked about Adobe, like it for the short if it breaks the 20-day. Held it. Applesauce seemed to get a bounce today. Again, maybe they're not related to this. And this is more oversold than some of these names. Said watch the 8 and 10-day. Kind of wild, right? Like, man, can I just pull my box right over? Because there it goes. I'd watch for a reference, see what happens here. Again, I personally think, Apple should pull back. That 200 days are coming. It's just a matter of when. And again, if Apple holds up a couple days, cool. Amazon, watch these range highs. You've got really good references. Meta didn't do anything with this one today because, again, so focused on everything else. But, screaming. Some names are strong. Like, that's the thing, right? We've talked about traders market. It's been a traders market. CRM, nice bounce here, but interesting level where it's getting slapped around. I'd be watching the 350, 250. Guggenheim, right? They got the next quantum chips. Uh-oh. We talked about high and tight's good. Today's action, I wouldn't say it's that damaging, but it is kind of sketchy. Watch the choppiness. Microsoft, Mr. Softy. Talked about this one, big trading range. Not much to say. They've got earnings coming up. A lot of these names. Keep that in mind, so be careful. NDAQ, interesting action. Nice bounce back. Again, I'd love to see. This is what gets so confusing to people, right? Is like they look at price and they go, oh, God, everything's good. It's time to short the open. It's down low, and it rallies back, and they go, damn, what do I do? And then they get squeezed out. Market's so good at that, man. So watch the levels. Don't chase. Don't chase. Don't chase. MicroStrategy said watch this trend line potentially. I still think we could come back to the gappers, 100 days, all this stuff, especially if Bitcoin starts melting back. Again, keep an eye on it. Netflix and Spill, I don't know. It had that nice gap up. Seems to be holding up. But again, in my opinion, I feel like this is a trap. It could resolve lower in time. Roblox, chopping around. Chop it around. Nice bounce back again. I'm not surprised that money did chase as the VIX came down, right? PANW got major resistance support here in the 189 to 190. Tesla, we talked about this. Again, this is like the big move up. Got to be careful. You're at the 50-day at the range lows. Again, I'm not necessarily bullish or bearish. I'm trying to be indifferent, but after a big damn move, I'm like a broken pattern, broken record. You chop around, y'all. You don't just go in a straight line. Insight, chopping, right? Palantir, look at this down $3. We talked about watching what's up here. Jimmy Cramer goes, this is the strongest stock in the market. And I'm like, oh, that can't end well. McDonald's, bouncing. Okay, holding the 200 day. Again, we talked about this one's been incredibly choppy. Okay. I mean, that's the thing. Like, money still flows, right? Money still goes and flows. DKNG, again, I like the short up here in the 40s. Simple, keep it simple, stupid. Airbnb, we talked about this one looking like chopness. Gaps down, holding. Costco, decent move today. Got to give credit due. Bears definitely got slapped if you shorted again. If you shorted the open, you look like a freaking dummy. Nice bounce now again. Near term, 970. Keep an eye on it. Again, I'm not saying necessarily it's going to get smoked, but it could. Or it can with the market. Remember, rising tide and lowering tide, same thing. They moved the boats. This is an interesting pattern. Something's catching my eye with Starbucks here. Again, I have a sneaky feeling on this one. This one looks interesting. Keep an eye on this. I'd be watching the top of the range. FedEx Express, right? Chopping around. We've talked about it could hold these 260s levels. Again, market's down tech. Well, again, maybe tomorrow tech rallies and the rest of this stuff gets clobbered. Keep an eye on it. Caterpillar. This one had a really nice bounce. Gaps down. Okay, worth a watch. Deer, like this one's been fuego. Look at the close again. Somebody thinks something. Nucor, after hours, where are they at, baby? Please get slaughtered. It's going nowhere. All right, round again. I like these names on dips and pullbacks. Going nowhere. X marks the spot. All right, just chopping around. VALE, we like VALE long term. I mean, I think the pricing down here with the volume makes sense. We'll see what happens. Like to see some pullbacks. Arrow again, junior copper. We like just let them beat the shiznit out of some of these names. Slap them around, boys. Slap them around. CCJ, I mean, holy crapola, right? Wow, you're not going to need all that power for AI. Again, I don't really. I mean, we talked about this range needing help. Again, I like these stocks lower. I don't like the chase. Do you see what happens when you chase? At some point, you get punished. I mean, even like CF, you chase this and you made money on the options you never covered, and then bam, they pulled it right back. Assholes. Mosaic, chopping around. NTR, chopping around. Right? Chopping around. AA. I mean, we like AA. We like aluminum. Aluminum. Let it pull back. Keep an eye on it. Man, freaking XLFer. Nice close. Was like watching it today. I'm like, well, man, if it's holding up, I don't want to touch it. Add to it. And just kind of watching. It looks like, again, the banks hold all the problems here. Just keep an eye on this. Again, remember, they're the ones who fund all this crap. So we'll see what happens here. The JPMO, I mean, this one makes sense to me. Little inside day. I'll be watching this 265 area. Morgan Stanley didn't really do much. I mean, some of the investment banks did not look so hot today. Because why? They're probably invested in some of this crap. You know, SoftBank. Right? Bank of America chopping around. Goldman Sachs, again, gonna probably have some pain. But look, that hits the trend line right to a T. Carry, we talked about this one, right? Keep an eye on it. I mean, you're over. I don't know. I guess you could. That's a high volume area too. Just be watching the mid 60s. Again, that's why I hate drawing lines specifically and being very like, oh, bring a ruler to trading, right? XBI, interesting. We talked about how risk on name would be risking, asking, and going. It's not. Keep an eye on it. Jets, Benny, and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Still the 20-day. I mean, it looks like a chop top. That's all I can say. XHB, not surprised how anything bounced with some rates. That wick, though, is kind of wicked. Like, the open was wild. I mean, you open down at like 110 and rally back up and then just all day. All day. All day, all night, nothing. Solar, again, I don't really have a beef with it, but oil, because we've already had the beef. I mean, we talked about the short amp at the highs. I had very big beef with solar as the highs. Now down here, I'm not going to try to press my luck. I'd rather just see what happens here. Some of these names will go flopping out of the business, and then some will just base. Again, I like First Solar long term, but I'd like to see it go longer term, lower. Make sense? Again, HYG, you got to be high to your mind to be buying corporate debt. High pie. Oil, we talked about this one, pulling back again. Yeah. UNG, again, I hate this product. KOLD, talked about this, like you should expect some bounces. Cool, take your profits. We know where the profits get taken. XOP, wah, 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 wah. Like, no one's listening. Like, man, this looks pretty ominous. You got the 3-day, 3-mile island chop top too. Then starts pulling back. You're at some support in your term, slightly oversold. Again, I think there's going to be some rotation around every once in a while in the money. CVE, again, some of the junior names, this is where it makes me a little nervous. They're just not acting, right? Valero, we talked about how the gasoline names have been wide and loose, right? Back up near the highs, like off their lows. We'll see if they can continue to move or lead or chop around. Again, ExxonMobil, we like this one, obviously at lower prices for the long term, but you can trade it. But it's just, I don't know, not much in there. BP, again, another one I like long term, breaks the downtrend. It just could play the chop game. Occidental, of course, we like this one long term. We know Buffett ain't picking a loser, y'all. He ain't buying more of a loser. He has a very good idea. If some business is not going well, he's dumping. He's not buying more. In my opinion, he's just basing it out, selling calls and selling puts. EQT, yikes. Yikes. This is why, again, you got to be careful. It's really tough to trust. Again, I like EQT, right? Said that. But I can't chase it. Again, if you traded it, you took some of these options, like some of the folks in the Discord room, Jay Soul's talking about, some of this stuff, cool. But then you take some profit. Now you pull back and you go, oh, I can breathe better. Last but not least, Flex LNG, same kind of thing, right? Like, you got to, like, trade the action and then I guess maybe not sell it. This one is, to me, is a buy and hold at some point. But just keep it simple, stupid. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And again, if we're anticipating the week's action, I'd rather the market drop more if you want to get more of a bounce going into FOMC. If we chop tomorrow, then we probably definitely can play some games into Wednesday, Thursday. The upside potential, in my mind, gets limited the more you rise going into it because it becomes more of a sell the news event. This DeepSeek stuff, I don't think is a one-day event, meaning I think we talked about the paradigm, what will happen and shift within the chip sector and the semiconductor sector is going to be detrimental for those stocks, not necessarily the companies, but the stocks. Again, those stocks were trading at insane premiums. They cannot sustain. So again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Always here to help. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening. Peace out. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.